seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian at WhisperStatus74. Welcome to the community, welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We're real tech for real people. Today's video will be a gameplay comparison of the Xbox Series X versus the PC on a Plague Tale Innocence, which is from Asobo Studios. It is an amazing, small, gorgeous game that came out about a year and a half ago. I played it on Steam when it was released. It was recently on the PlayStation Store free, I believe. It's also now on Game Pass. The reason why I want to do this comparison is the game was recently updated on the Series X, which the Xbox has been so good, or Microsoft I should say, has been so good about updating their games with ray tracing, effects, 4K, frame FPS boosts. You've seen that on all the EA titles. And Digital Foundry, one of the best channels on this platform, did a great video, I'll link it below, on this game, and they really broke it down to what they changed, how good they made it look. Now, a lot of these games that get updated, they simply get either a higher resolution, they add some ray tracing, some HDR. This game now has HDR. It did not have that at launch on PC. I believe it has ray tracing and some other effects added in. It's also got a higher frame rate. It does have a motion blur as well. And the reason why I wanted to do the comparison is I remember it looking much better on PC. Having Steam instead of, well, I have Game Pass, but when you have Game Pass on PC and console, it'll yank the game back and forth. It won't let you play them simultaneously. Luckily, I have it on Steam, so I was able to compare them. What I want to know from you guys is, which image do you prefer? Do you prefer the HDR image of the Xbox Series X or the higher resolution of the PC? There's at times where the PC will look more realistic. It is definitely cleaner. There are times where you will lose some shadow detail. This is going to be on a CX OLED from last year. We will also have the HDR settings. We'll show you the settings of both actually on the Series X. The Series X, you'll have HDR settings versus SDR settings on the PC. The PC's gamma is going to be at 2.4. It's where I prefer the image to look. So you're actually seeing my settings. So please let me know what you think in the comments. Which image do you actually prefer? We are going to have this filmed at 4K 60. You'll see it at 4K 30. Unfortunately, you won't see HDR because having HDR and SDR in the same video is very difficult. But you'll still get the same feeling of what, or at least the same thoughts or the same visual that I see in HDR. It shows up pretty much the same way as it does in person. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and go back and either purchase this game, play this game, support more of these games. Like many of you, I am tired of prequels and sequels, and the art design, the voice acting, the story. This game is absolutely phenomenal. It's a lot like Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice, where it's a small but gorgeous game. You have some stealth here, some puzzle, but the levels are absolutely gorgeous, and I want to see more of this again versus all the prequels and sequels, things of that nature. Let's go into the video. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know which image you prefer. HDR at times can look dull, it can look bright, it can look more realistic. Which do you prefer in this video? And I will see you in the comments. Alright guys, here we are starting with the Xbox Series X version. We will now show you the PC version here. We are running a GTX 1080 Ti, still a great card. And we're going to go back to the Series X version. Now, no, you're not seeing it in HDR. You are getting a feel for how the game actually looks. It's a warmer, perhaps more natural image. And my question to you guys is, which do you prefer? I will show you the HDR settings for the Series X on the LG CX. We'll show you what the settings are, and we'll also show you that within HDR, a lot of the settings are maxed. We are leaving them the way they are. The color is the same, contrast is different, the gamma is different. We are also disabling dynamic tone mapping for the purposes of the beginning of the video. We'll enable it again later. I usually prefer it on. It does get a little crazy with over brightening at times on PC, but I do like the more vibrant image. So we'll show you the settings here. There is no HGIG for this particular game, and just showing you how it alters the image as well. And as we move back over to the PC version, we'll also show you the SDR settings. Now these are my settings, what I play at. I do prefer a darker image, again, on PC. I do like the blacks. I do like gamma at 2.4. And where I have the OLED light, that is hit or miss. You can do it game by game. HDR pretty much takes away that flexibility, as you want HDR to be as the director intended, maxing everything out. This is just what I'm running right now. I don't love it to be super warm either, which is why you're seeing it at medium. Now, which image do you prefer? We're running this on high to ultra settings. It is a hard game to run. It is a gorgeous game. The art design reminds me a lot of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Very realistic. You see how the camera moves without motion blur. Though you're seeing this at 4K 30, it was filmed at 4K 60. At least I hope it shows up at 4K 30. But you can see how crisp the leaves are. You can see the God rays. You can see how sharp the image actually is. When we get to this point here, we are actually now going to go over to the Series X version with HDR. You can see how it's a warmer, softer image, but you may prefer that. The guys at Digital Foundry very much enjoyed that image as we switch back and forth. I'll only do that in this part of the video to show you that we're going back and forth, but see how clean the leaves in the image are. When you have Game Pass, you can't even do it that way. So for the rest of the video, we'll do the screen crawl back and forth, or the screen wipe, which you'll see again here. Now, even though HDR has the more color and would be the more realistic image, we're showing you here how we're also changing the brightness settings. The brightness was perhaps a little bit too low for the PC, so we went it up a little bit. And the HDR settings were a bit too high on the Series X, which is something that we're looking to try and fix here on the fly to show you how you can alter the image as well. You'll see the HDR settings here. I don't always love the sliders on HDR. It was overly bright when the settings, so we put them back up to default. We had them down for the purposes of the video, but it does wash the image out. And HDR seemed to do that for games like Red Dead, which had a fake HDR. So it's hit or miss. I like this image if I didn't have access to the PC version. We're also going to go back in here, and we are also going to re-enable dynamic tone mapping to give you that punchy image from HDR. Most times I prefer it on. I'm not super interested in the most accurate image. It is a video game. I do want things to look and have pop, especially on OLEDs. But you can see how the, as we readjust the brightness, you can see how the softness of the leaves, you can see how that changes between the images. Now, adjusting the brightness, they do look more similar here than they did when we started. Completed this game. It was absolutely phenomenal, especially the battlefield scenes later on are gorgeous. We'll walk over to a tree over here, take a look at some God rays. That's a good place to stop right there. Try to get it as like for like as we possibly can. And we'll show you the... Now, to me, that has a more washed out look than the PC version, which you're seeing here. The cleanliness, the detail in the clothing. And back again. And what's funny is when I feel like I want one more than the other, I change my mind when I'm looking at it alone. But I just remember the PC version being much cleaner. And again, it's mostly at ultra, some high settings. And we'll try to get her turned around a little bit so you can actually see. Now, this one actually looks very close. As we switch back, the PC version actually looks pretty close. A little bit more detailed again, but I don't notice the biggest differences with HDR, even though it has HDR. Now back to the PC, we are going to walk and just take a look at how things, again, the God rays, and we'll switch back again. Sorry for the quick, there we go. Now, if you look at the sun and the trees, that may look more realistic. It's a little fuzzier, but that might look like a more realistic implementation. And there's the PC. Now, see me looking at that now, the PC looks absolutely amazing. And I appreciate all the updates, don't get me wrong, but I just felt like the PC was a much cleaner. Now, the frame rate is much higher. And we're going to go back to the other side and take a look at the ground here. And then we're going to switch back. You see the console version. Now, what's funny is, I don't know if this has full ray tracing. Wasn't sure. You have to watch that, video from Digital Foundry. But both look great as far as the water and the reflections. They both had this like Venetian blind in the puddle right in front of her. And here's the movement of the PC, a little bit more deliberate. And then you'll see the movement of the console, which is much faster, but also has motion blur that you can't disable. See how much quicker and more responsive it is. It actually feels less responsive. It's so responsive. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick comparison. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please check out this game. Take care.